Okay, I'm going to show you how to assemble the full throttle sausage stuffer to get it ready to stuff sausage. I've taken my cylinder itself, set it down into the O-ring groove on the bottom of the unit. Make sure it lines up, goes into the O-ring groove. Our next step will be to insert the piston. I always take a little bit of PAM or any type of a spray lubricant, cooking oil, and from the bottom side with the O-ring away from you, just real lightly spray that O-ring so it's lubricated as it goes into the piston. Okay, also just take it, doesn't take much, but get you a slight bit of the lubricant inside the cylinder. At that point you can drop your piston in. Okay, these pistons actually fit very, very tight. Do not try to drive the piston in, as you could cause damage to the unit. Simplest way to install these pistons is to take your center plate, just set on top of the piston, which is setting on top of the cylinder. Get your bolts started. And then by tightening your bolts down evenly, it will pull the O-ring right down into the cylinder. You can actually put your finger into there, you can feel the O-ring sliding right into place. Now, before tightening this center plate all the way down into the unit, we need to make sure that the O-ring groove is lined up. Once your stuffer has been used a few times and your O-ring begins to get wore in, it will get to where it fits the stuffer slightly looser, and at that point you can normally take your hand and push it on down out of the way. Okay? Once that's done, if you look underneath, there is a groove cut into the bottom of this plate that the O-ring should slip right into. And you just simply line that up. Right there, it dropped in. Then you can go ahead, snug your bolts, run all bolts down, and then we will snug them evenly to seal the O-rings top and bottom. Okay, we'll snug this up good so that our O-rings seal. Okay, our next step will be our top plate. Top plate you can simply set in place. My top plate is, by the way, assembled. Assembly on the top plate is quite simple. You put the check valve into the spacer plate, take the spacer plate and the 4 bolts, bolt them into the top plate. Top plate attaches with just 4 bolts here. Or 2 bolts, sorry about that. Top plate attaches with just 2 shoulder bolts. Line it up so that the shoulder bolts go in. You can take your Allen wrench and snug those up. this point we're ready for the knife assembly. On the knife assembly, you have your plastic blocks. These are high density blocks. After years of use, you might get a little bit of wear on these. If you do, the blocks are reversible. You set your blocks in place, one of your blocks in place. Take your knife spacers, line the holes up, set those in place. If you're getting ready to use your stuffer, be sure to take your PAM, spray both sides of the knife so that it is well lubricated. Set it in there. Line up with the hole on your spring plate. And put your pin in your spring plate. Take your other plastic block. Set it down, making sure the holes are lined up. We'll take our 1 3/4 by 3/8 bolts. We'll put one in each corner here to hold everything in alignment for us to put the head on. You'll take the 4 bolts, you will put the stuffer horn adapter onto the front of the head, put the O-ring behind it, put the 4 bolts in, snug those down. That'll be your entire head assembly. Slide your bolts in. That will just simply sit right here on top. Bolts going down into the holes. When you tighten these top bolts, all 8 of these top bolts that go through the plastic plates, do not over tighten. All these need to be is slightly past finger tight. Too tight, it will lock up and interfere with the movement of the knife, and you will have trouble with meat oozing once the foot pedal is released. If you have trouble with that, just simply loosen the bolts. These do not need to be tight at all. Surfaces are machined flat, so it takes very, very little pressure down on these bolts to stop meat leakage around the knife. You basically just run the bolts down. When you feel them hit, just give them just a little bit, make them just past finger tight, and you will not have a meat leakage problem, and your knife will travel smooth and free. That is the nicest part of the full throttle sausage stuffer. You completely throttle the meat output with a foot pedal. Farther down you push it, the faster product comes out of the stuffer. You let up on the foot pedal, meat stops coming from the stuffer horn immediately. No oozing, no mess. Makes it very, very nice. Okay. One other thing we need to do here, we will plug our air back in. We need to put our foot pedal back onto the machine. Make sure these are backed out a little ways. Simply take your foot pedal cable, raise it up, line it up with your plate, and get it up on there. Take your finger on the opposite side of the knife, grab a bolt right there, pull this out, line up the hole. It is intentional that there is some spring pressure there. We adjust these so that when you open the machine and the lid is in a semi-upside down position, these pins do not fall out. However, they are very easily removable when you want to remove them. Okay, you'll snug your bolts down. Put your stuffer horn on, and you have a full throttle sausage stuffer that is assembled and ready to go. As you can see, since it's not overly tight, knife operates freely. That is what you need to check for. Just snug all bolts till you begin to feel a little resistance on the knife, and then back them off slightly until you have good free knife movement. Once you have achieved that, you can put your stuffer horn on, close your lid, put air to the stuffer, hit your valve to take your piston down. Once you hear air stop, once you stop hearing the air escaping from the bottom of the cylinder, your piston is all the way down. Move your switch to the neutral position. You'll be able to open up the top of the stuffer, pack it with 55 to 60 pounds of product, close your lid, close down your hand knobs, snug those. The hand knobs need to be good and tight. Snug them down well. Once you've got that, flip your switch to the up position. That will bring the piston up, bleed the air off the top of the meat. When the air stops escaping, you're ready to push the foot pedal and begin stuffing sausage. We're very proud of the stuffers that we build. We think you'll be very happy with this stuffer. There are very, very few wear items on the stuffer. About the only thing on this stuffer that will ever wear out will be low-cost items like O-rings. We got a full year warranty on the stuffers. O-rings are inexpensive, and like I say, that's about the only thing wears out. Everything else is pretty much non-moving parts. The knife in here is a stainless steel knife running against plastic plates. So long as they are clean and lubricated, the plates wear very, very slowly. The plates are also a low-cost item. If you need new wear plates up here underneath the head, we can fix you up and usually ship those to you next day. I think you'll be very happy with this stuffer. I know we have been pleased with it. We've had excellent luck with it. We've worked on the design for a couple of years, and it has come out very, very nice. Good luck, and if there's any questions at all, feel free to give us here at KRUEGER-PENROD Innovations a call, 573-294-7340. I'll answer any questions you have and help you in any way we can. Okay, this is going to be a short video showing the disassembly of the full throttle sausage stuffer. This is what will need to be done. You get ready to clean the unit. Simply pull on this plate, pull this pin out right here. Once that is done, you can loosen the two bolts here on the side. The foot pedal assembly will easily remove. Just simply raise it up. Foot pedal assembly. Okay, once the foot pedal is removed, you have 8 bolts that hold the entire head assembly together. We'll remove those. Once you've done it a few times, tear down usually takes about 5 minutes. Putting it back together takes me about 7 minutes. The head assembly lifts right off. Once all of these bolts are out, the knife assembly comes disassembled Pull the pin out of your spring return. Knife assembly will come out, the spacers. Everything lifts right off, everything comes apart for easy cleaning. Okay, we'll open the machine up here. By removing these two rear bolts, the hinge bolts, the lid assembly will lift off. Common push fitting on the air hose, just simply pull the black push fitting in, pull out on the hose while you're pushing it in on it. At that point, the lid will lift off the unit. Okay, now we have to get the piston out of the unit. These pistons are fitted very tight so that we don't have leakage issues with them. In order to get the piston out, we need to take out the 4 bolts that hold the center plate onto the stuffer. Okay, once these 4 bolts are removed, center plate will just simply lift right off. In order to remove the piston, we want to use air pressure to push the piston out. So we've got a blow-off ring made that simply snaps over the top of the cylinder itself, like so. And then you will put your center plate back on the stuffer. Okay. Put your bolts back in. Here you don't want to run your bolts down extremely tight. You only need to snug them enough to make the bottom of the cylinder seal on the bottom O-ring. So we'll just run them down, give them just a little bit of snug, that's it. Do that with each one of them. Okay. All right. Once you've done that, take your top plate, set it back into place. We do this for safety reasons, so that nobody can put their fingers down in there while that piston is coming up. Once again, don't have to be real tight. Run these down against there to protect everybody as the piston comes up. The piston pops out with considerable force You don't want anybody's fingers underneath it. Okay, I'm going to hook the air back up to our stuffer. 125 pounds is maximum inlet pressure on these. Simply plug the air in. You can adjust the air pressure down fairly low for pushing the piston out. Move your switch to the up position, and it will pop the piston up as soon as the pressure comes up. Piston is now up. Once the piston's up, disconnect your air from the system. We'll once again remove the top. We'll take our center plate here back off. As you can see, our piston is up into our blow-off ring. We can pop our blower off ring. And as you can see, our piston sits right here on top. Piston is going to be slick, hard to get a hold of because it's going to have fats and oils from the meats, things like that. I usually grab a terry cloth towel, grab the piston, and you can lift it right out. At that point, you can simply lift the cylinder out of the machine. You are ready to wash the cylinder and the parts to get the machine cleaned up and ready for the next go-around. There are a few pieces that we need to disassemble here. One of those is the head assembly here. Head assembly, you simply take out the 4 bolts here. There's no O-ring behind it. Take these 4 bolts out, take it off, take the O-ring off. All parts come apart very, very easily for washing. Also, on the bottom of the top plate, there is a spacer here. If you take these 4 bolts out, this spacer comes off. There is a small screw in the top of this bleed-off valve. You take it out, the bleed-off valve pulls out, all of that can be washed, put back together, and you're ready to go the next time that you want to stuff sausage. When you tear your stuffer apart, get ready to put it up for long-term storage. Be sure and wipe all parts down with a good high-grade mineral oil to keep oxidation off the aluminum.